back. We gotta get there first.
I can't do that!
You want to stop for a little lie down? Helena!
Turn left! Turn left! Indy, listen to me, no!
I know Tangier.
Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
What is going on, everybody? I am back with Film Club, and today I am joined by two really great guys who I got to meet a few months back at Star Wars Celebration. We're going to be talking initially about movie news for news of the week, and then we're going to be talking about Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. If you have seen my review or vlog recently on the channel, you will know my initial thoughts on this film. And we'll talk about it today. And I'm going to go a bit more in depth. If you are joining me live, thank you so much for joining, and happy 4th of July to all the American viewers and listeners. And if you're joining me on the replay, thank you very much for supporting. If you'd like to subscribe or like, I'd very much appreciate it. I'm going to go and bring in my guests, two of really, really good guys, I said, who I've met recently in person, who I've been streaming with for a good long while. One in particular, he's the Chrome Dome. He's my friend, Ben. How you doing, brother?
Give him hell, Indy!
Surprised you didn't culturally appropriate his outfit.
Yeah, I've learned from my mistakes, put it that way. Hello!
Hello, brother. How are you?
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm good.
Pleasure.
I'm happy to be back on Reviews with Rich, the YouTube channel, and I'm excited to discuss this because I think it's it's definitely not a linear like yes I like it, no I don't like it. There's some different layers and textures going on there with my thoughts, so I'm excited to get into it with you and hopefully maybe change your mind a little bit.
You could. I have had some time to reflect and stuff as well. Traditionally, when I choose these films, they're usually overwhelmingly positive, or there's a positive slant to it, and the last two reviews I've done, probably so. But the last two films I've seen at the cinema have been The Flash, which is shit, and then Indy, which was like wasted opportunity. But before we go on, I'm going to bring in another good guy and a good friend. Is Pete, the Georgie G Ginger. How are you, brother?
Very well, thank you. Very well. I can't do an impression like Ben, I'm afraid. I can't do that. Give him hell, Indy, or whatever. No,
that was good. That was better.
I do my Indy from the second movie.
That was offensive.
What you call him? Shorts? Is it short stack?
Short round.
Short round.
Stack. Can you remove him? Does he?
I was going to say, why did I invite this guy?
This is going to be interesting because I think I'm probably in the middle of you guys. I'm the ham in your bread. I'm your sandwich filling. I think I'm probably about 50%. I'm not sure really how I feel about this.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I described it. My friend James T, who's in the chat, asked what I thought of it, and I said it was a wobbly thumb. In that, I just don't. I kind of. It's like I kind of decide yet whether it's a. I divina for the American.
Can you translate for the American listeners? Yeah.
I'm afraid I can't really give an opinion at this point.
Did you know before we go any further? Did you know that this was filmed in Banbury Castle up the road from you?
Yes. I nearly met him. So I was driving home from work on the quayside in Newcastle, past the law courts, and there was a whole load of commotion with photographers, and I just thought it was some scallywag, some rascal coming out of the law courts. And it wasn't until I got home that night and saw on the news it was Harrison Ford had been to a local Italian, I think, and he was just wandering around the quayside, and people were chasing him. So I could have shouted at him out of the car.
Poor bugger.
Claimed that's your claim to fame.
That's my claim
you
to fame.
Almost met Harrison Ford.
Yeah, almost.
People. Almost. I want to quickly say hello to everybody. I'm really already so nice that everyone's been joining, just to because obviously it's 4th of July as well for a lot of people in America and stuff. So it's my brother my actual brother James, who I'm going to be seeing in Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 with, which I cannot wait to see it, not only with him because he lives in Spain, for me and him to go and see the cinema together. It's just going to be so wonderful. So
that's cool.
So can't wait for this brother. Ford deserved a better send off than this. I agree. He also said, should they have made it for the first place, do you think, or left it with 4 in 2008 or 3 in 1989? We'll talk about that, brother. James, a different James. Hey, we were talking on YouTube earlier, and he said that on the chat, and he said he very much has been enjoying these indies. He hasn't seen them before, so he's been shotgunning them. So appreciate you stopping by. This will be interesting. Yes, it will. Grab your popcorn. GP Venom, hey all, hey buddy. S Beam, hey buddy. Hey, Riley Reviews, what's up, brother? Hope you're well. Long time no see. Empire Strikes Again, hey all. Ian, hey all. Everyone's saying hey all. My brother says hey all. Hey everyone. Right, that's enough for that chat for a bit.
Copy paste.
Very, very similar. It's like the copy and paste job, like you said. Hey, let's get rid of this one for a minute. 1 second. Okay. Yeah, I don't know how respectful we're going to be today, but we're gonna talk about it. If you've not seen Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, I'll give you a bit of a spoiler warning beforehand. But before that, we're going to talk about a little bit of movie news this week that came out. Well, in the last week at least. We have ourselves a new Superman. This man here is David Cornsweet, who is fairly unknown. He's been in a show which I watch called Hollywood. I don't know if you guys saw that on Netflix. He's really good. He's like an aspiring actor, comes to Hollywood quite naive and gets caught up in trying to make it as an actor in the 1930s, 1940s, maybe it's the 50s, I don't know. Anyway, he's trying to make it in Hollywood anyway. And it's a really interesting story. He's a great actor. He's classically trained. He went to Juilliard like Christopher Reeve. He's 6'3", so he's a good height. He's short lad for me. But anyway, but yeah, he's a good. I think obviously this is someone's photoshopped him, but I think he looks fantastic.
Yeah, they've used my body in that photo, so without permission.
I know. They need to sign that off, don't they? Really. And then we've got Rachel Brosnahan, and she is the marvelous Mrs. Maisel. If you guys have seen that, I have not. Apparently, by all accounts, she's a great actress. So she's cast as Lois Lane. I think she looks great there. And obviously looks quite smaller in there. Steady Ben. And but I just I thought I just wanted to get your guys' thoughts on it.
I don't know either of them.
No.
I'm a big. I know Ben absolutely adores Superman, so he'll be desperate to jump in. Absolutely desperate.
He's not for everyone out there. He's Ben's not a fan of
no,
Superman.
not at all. I love Superman. He's one of my favorite characters. I love the nobility of him and everything. Loved Christopher Reeve. Loved Henry. Loved Dean Cain back in the day. And I think the guy who's doing it on Superman and Lois, Tyler, I can't remember his name.
Tyler Hoechlin.
Yeah, he's excellent as well.
He is good.
I got really kind of twitched about this because I was Team Cavell and all the rest of it. But actually, none of these guys have been big Hollywood stars before they took on the role. So I'm willing to give this a go. Happy with the casting. More worried about James Gunn script work, if I'm honest. I don't want a comedy Superman movie. Don't pull that face, Ben. I want Superman to be Superman. I don't want him doing gags and things like that.
I think it's, even though he's known for that and his body horror stuff as well, James Gunn, I think he is a great he's a great writer and great director, and he has done stuff that's not very comedic as well. But I do know what you mean. It's that I also think the same. I think he has to pay homage to the character and do something really different that's not been done before. With this, holding some traditional sides to it as well, to the character, not be afraid for him to be a little bit boring in compared to some other superheroes out there, but that's what makes him who he is. Superman, believe it or not, is my favorite superhero. So because obviously I'm surrounded by Batman stuff, you'd assume they're Batman, but Superman's actually my favorite. And Yeah, so I've seen this. I think it's great. They've also rumored. Go on, Pete. You're going to say?
No, I was just going to say. Sorry, Ben. I'm not letting you. I worry. I worry sometimes that they focus too much on the alien element of Superman. I know that sounds silly, but Superman should be is the most human of all.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? In terms of his outlook and everything. And that's kind of what I want to see on screen. I want to see that vulnerability and that human nature, not the alien aspect, I guess, of the man out of place and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, he is the ultimate immigrant story, really, isn't he?
Absolutely.
He's not from there, but he was brought up there, and he was brought with the American values and brought with Ma and Pa Kent, which apparently Pa Kent's rumored to be Brendan Fraser. Which is
really?
Yes, that is the rumor that's out there at the moment. Also rumored is one of these two brothers are going to be Lex Luthor. Which one do you guys prefer out of these two?
I mean, it depends what you want, really. You know, I think having it's Bill, isn't it?
It's Bill and Alexander Skarsgård, yeah.
Yeah, so I think if you go, Bill's younger, if I'm not mistaken. So I think Bill matches up age-wise more with the actor they've got for Clark. Yep. So you know, you can kind of have that story of them sort of being friends and growing up together and stuff like that. I think that would be more believable, I think, than having Alexander in that type of role. But if they want to do a thing where Lex is more established, you know, by the point, you know, that kind of Clark's grown up and stuff, then go for Alex. Both absolutely fantastic actors and
great actors.
You know, Lex is my spirit animal. I relate a lot to Lex.
That's it. I don't know why.
You know, we share a disdain for that guy with the S on his chest. So yeah, the ultimate immigrant story. But he's also a white guy, so he'll be fine. But yeah.
Get political.
Lots of immigrants were white, but yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say.
But I'm like, okay, like I'm very intrigued to see if James Gunn turns me. Because I'm a massive James Gunn fan, but I don't like Superman. So I'm interested to see if this is the moment. This is the moment that I'm finally sold on the character. I didn't hate Henry Cavill, you know, and I kind of I didn't hate Man of Steel. I didn't hate Batman versus Superman. You know, I think I sort of enjoyed elements of that and enjoyed elements of his kind of character within Justice League and stuff like that. So, I was kind of, you know, I don't care massively, but I was also like, oh, okay, it's a shame because I would have welcomed more Henry, but I'm looking forward to seeing what they do.
I think you're right, Ben. I think out of the two, remind us, which one's the one that played it? Is that Bill or is that
the younger one? Yeah,
exactly. So Bill absolutely blew me away and I know it's another one of Ben's favorite films. In the latest John Wick, I don't think you've seen that one yet, Ben. He was superb in that, in terms of the kind of the bad guy, but a little bit kooky and a little bit strange, and I could see that version of Lex Luthor, not as rubbish as we got the last Lex Luthor, but you know, just that kind of just on the fringe of madness. Do you know what I mean? That's kind of.
Yeah, the thing is, what I always thought with Jesse Eisenberg, we'll talk about Indy in a minute, but the thing is, what I thought with Jesse Eisenberg, he couldn't really hold a conversation. There was one bit where he's literally having a breakdown, where he's trying to present some kind of award or just do like an evening thing at his house, and it's like, this man is supposed to be eventually president, and it was like, what the hell were they doing with that?
It's such a bizarre performance.
Strange choices.
The best way to portray madness as an actor is to come in from the mindset that character is trying not to show people that he's mad. So you show it in real subtle ways. You know, you show it behind the eyes. You don't. Everything's not on the surface because that character doesn't want people to know he's mad. And Lex is especially that, because, you know, manipulates his way into politics and all of that stuff. You know, so I think they'll probably come at a complete opposite angle with it and go for the cool calculated.
sorry, Rich, I know for your Indy, but
No,
Lex
it's
is
not,
Lex is the villain that I find interesting in the Marvel DC universe. He's like your Doctor Doom. Lex in a good day is actually the good guy. Do you know what I mean? He's trying to protect Metropolis.
That's what I've been trying to say, Peter.
Do you know what I mean? His whole thing is this alien at some point is going to kill us all. You know, he's too powerful. He's a god. So a bit like Doctor Doom. Doom just wants to rule his country, and there's as Stan Lee famously said,
leave me alone. I just want to sit over
no
here with
law
my
about saying
robots.
I want to be, So yeah. I think Lex has just got to have that tinge of madness, but be believable.
Well, I think they've got to have somebody who is fairly well known as a big actor to attract, because they've got to have the unknown, and you've got to have a big actor for the either the villain or as a Lex or something like that. So I think they're going to do it. I think they're going to make some really good decisions. They have to. And I think what they've done is, I think it's not going to come out in 2025 with everything that's happening with the writers' strikes, possible actors' strikes, and all this kind of stuff like this. It is very much up in the air at the moment. But before we go on to Indy, I'm just going to quickly say hello to a couple more people in the chat, just to see if there's anything new. Everyone's saying about Henry Cavill, Cavill Light, as people are saying. Just as soon
it does
as
look like he was made in the same factory.
It definitely does look like he was very, very, very similar. It could be good. Based on the casting so far, it will be Bill between the two. This is what Ian said. I don't want another lame Luther again. I agree. So before we go on to Indy, I want to quickly announce in 2 weeks' time, I'm going to be covering Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. So it's going to be 2 weeks today at the same time. So if everyone can come back in 2 weeks' time, and I'll be talking about Dead Reckoning Part 1. Now, Pete, and I know you're up for it. I know, Ben, you will not be up for it because you're not a fan of Tom Cruise, but we'll be joined by Agent Silver Fox himself, Ian. So it'll be great to have him on board for that one. Looking forward to streaming with you, Ian. And so let's get on to Indiana Jones. Right. What does Indy mean to you, Ben?
Indy means a huge amount to me. Personally, I was introduced to Indiana Jones by my grandpa, my late grandpa, and pretty much all of my memories of those films are kind of intrinsically linked with my grandpa, to be honest. So my grandparents, I grew up with my grandparents living in Spain, and we pretty much went to go visit them like every year, in the summer holidays or whatever. And my grandpa had this like den in Spain. It was like the coolest place in the whole of Spain because the sunlight just would never get to it, in a million years. And in there he had, all of his books, just a ton of VHS, videos and stuff like that. All of his like Magnificent Seven films and stuff like that. His drawings and everything. It was just it was a man cave, it was like it was my introduction to the concept of a man cave, and I was like, I want one of them. Now I have one. And I used to basically just burrow down there and just stick on the films that would interest me. And it was my introduction to like Batman '89, Starship Troopers. I watched a lot of Star Wars. Down there, I'd kind of already been introduced to Star Wars anyway, but Indiana Jones was just massive, and I think Last Crusade's probably my favorite.
Mine too.
I think that film just and I've recently rewatched it. I honestly think it's the perfect action film. Like I just think it balances adventure, set pieces, humor, heart, kind of performance, stunt work, practical effects. Like it just has everything that I would want from an action movie. And so I got a lot of fond memories of that. Weird as well, another kind of weird personal thing, but Sean Connery really looked like my late uncle as well. So I kind of watched it always kind of picturing my uncle as Sean Connery's character. So just a lot of kind of personal memories with that. And growing up as a Star Wars fan anyway, like Lucasfilm's part of my life, and Indy's kind of always been like to the side of Star Wars, and it's like a lot you'll find 9 out of 10 Star Wars fans will hold Indy just as dear,
Yeah.
as a franchise, and that's definitely the case for me. So yeah.
No, thanks for that, man. That's a really nice answer. I can completely appreciate a lot of things you were saying, which I'll talk to you about in a second after Pete. But that's really nice. That's a really nice thing. I think that's these film franchises, I hope, stand the test of time for a lot of other generations that come down the line, that we give this gift of film to our kids and grandkids and stuff like that. I hope that kind of legacy lives on, and I think that's a really important thing to give, I think, as well. Pete, what about yourself? So you obviously you're a bit older than
you're trying to play me see it there, aren't you?
I am. I'm trying to say, when did you first see it? Did you
this is my grandpa.
When you were 35?
The grandpa that I was telling you about. Here he is.
Yeah. So thanks, Rich. Yeah, thanks.
Sorry.
And so I'm a little bit older than you guys, but I don't remember seeing this in the cinema. I can't remember the release dates of this, but I can't remember seeing it in the cinema. But what it means for me is Christmas. So back in the day, and again, I don't know if it's changed for you guys, but there was always a very pretty much distinct set of movies that would be around Christmas time. You'd get Star Wars, you'd get an Indiana Jones movie, you'd probably get a Gremlins, and you'd get a Die Hard around the same time. And very much as Ben's kind of described, this Indiana Jones was always the family movie. Everybody, because you didn't have many channels and all the rest of it back then, everybody sat around and everybody watched Indiana Jones, no matter how many times we'd seen it. It was still the film, the family feel-good film. I absolutely adore Indiana Jones. I like it for exactly what it is. It's a fun adventure romp kind of thing with, dare I say it, no smut, no bad language, no over-the-top action, although it does get pretty graphic at times. But it's Nazis, so it doesn't matter. So it really is a kind of a good family movie, and I don't think we get many of them anymore, to be honest. And I like the kind of the whole package of it. I like the archaeology. I like the adventure. No getting away from the fact Indiana Jones is bloody cool. The whip, all that kind of stuff. As a young man, very cool. In fact, I remember being very young, maybe 10 or 11 or something like that, and going on holiday to Spain, and they had the real leather whips in the shops, and buying a whip and thinking I was the dog's bits. Standing at the pool, whipping all the poor little kids and stuff in the face and things, and
it's like Django Unchained here.
Yeah, Django. I wasn't quite as skilled.
You haven't got a little scar there.
But yeah, I just love it. And again, Indiana Jones is cool, but I was very aware back then, having watched Star Wars around the same time, that Harrison Ford was cool. He was like a proper movie star, do you know what I mean? But a cool one, so yeah, love it. Love Indiana Jones. Always have.
No, that's again really lovely answer. Thank you. For me, very similar to you guys. So I didn't see it at the cinema. I think we saw Last Crusade. James, if you're still watching, you can remind me, because he's really good with these dates and stuff like this. But Indy has always been a massive part of my film education. We used to have it on at my grandparents' house all the time. There were a number of VHS tapes that we would take there. Raiders, Return of the Jedi, and I think Batman 89 as well. So some classics there that we have them on heavy rotation, and very much like yourselves, Harrison Ford and Indy's the coolest, and he epitomized what a film star was, a movie star was as well. And obviously he played Han Solo and Indy. You don't get any cooler than that. And so for me, Harrison Ford's one of my favorite actors anyway, and he's one of my favorite movie stars. Him and Tom Cruise are my two favorite. And we'll talk about it in a bit, but like the death of the movie star, which is just a bit of shame as well to see within Hollywood, and how they have corrected in a lot of respects to focus more on the franchise than it being more of a tentpole movie with a star and a movie star. And that's quite interesting to see, and that's reflected a lot in the box office, but also as well word of mouth and Rotten Tomatoes scores and initial screenings and those kind of things as well. Those spread like wildfire, and how that can affect the box office. But Indy, to me, to talk about Indy, so I went off on one there, is hugely important. It's when I went to Star Wars Celebration with you guys, the Indy stuff excited me more. I'm going to get cancelled here by a lot of my mates here on Star Wars, but Indy excited me more. The stuff that was there, for example, I picked up this bit of art there. You can see that on my left shoulder. Thank you. And and that kind of stuff really excited me more so than a lot of the Star Wars stuff there, even though Star Wars is hugely important to me. But this franchise means a hell of a lot. And the announcement of this film was amazing. It was my most anticipated film of the year because of people use the word nostalgia way too much, as far as I'm concerned. But this one really did. It had a real special place in my heart. And we're going to talk about it. So with a budget. Oh, James says, we saw Last Crusade first. Thank you very much, brother. I didn't know that. And then James T says, fallen in love with the series over the last couple of weeks. Kind of sad. I don't have the same nostalgia for it. Always appreciated for serving as inspiration for Uncharted, though. That's, I guess. He said,
you know what, though? Like, it's interesting with James there because I think James really represents maybe, and I know like some of the negative kind of response to the film is adding to it, but I think overall, this film is not doing that well because it doesn't mean that much to the younger generation anymore, you know. And James is like a perfect representation of that. Like he's a movie buff. He knows his stuff. You know, he's I'm never going to say this again, James. So enjoy it while it lasts. But you know, he's an intelligent younger man. Literally never going to say anything nice about him ever again. By the way. But what I'm saying is that, like, even him, you know, he didn't really have a desire to go back and watch the Indiana Jones. There was nothing appealing to kind of do that. Obviously, now he's done it and he's realized that, you know, he was sat on something brilliant this whole time. But, like, I think there's a lot of, you know, under a certain age that just don't care for it. Like,
well, he said, I'll take it. He said in the comments. I'm sure he will. But I think Lucasfilm / because I know there's obviously the whole rights with Paramount and Lucasfilm and Disney and all that kind of stuff. They missed a trick by not releasing these films earlier on Disney Plus. If they'd have released them first on Disney Plus, or I think they were Paramount at the same time, I think at one point, but if they'd have done that on Paramount Plus or Disney Plus for a longer period of time than they actually did, it would have built up a bit more buzz. The good thing is with, say, Star Wars, there's been the stuff in between. There's been the movies. Between the movies, there's been comics. There's been animated shows. There's been things like that to keep that fandom going. But with Indy, the last thing we saw him in was in 2008. And that was a long-ass time ago. It might not seem that long to us because obviously we lived it and we were still adults when it happened. But that for the younger generation have never really seen that and didn't really get the hype. Someone actually just said to me, Empire Strikes Again, if you walked into the cinema at the same age you were for the originals, do you think your opinion would be different, Rich? My opinion of this film, we'll talk about it in a bit, but I think it would be, no matter how old I am, seeing this film, and if I had seen the originals before that, I would see a distinct difference between the first three and these last two. I think
you'd see a difference, but I think the enjoyment would be a lot more because you're not. I think we're all, whether we like to admit it or not, we're coming in very cynical to pretty much everything we're seeing now. You know, because we know how to spot things. We know the structure of a story. We know what good acting is and stuff like that. When you're a kid, you know, you do not see those things.
Yeah,
you feel more as a kid, right? And Indy is like. Where Indy at its best makes you feel, you know, when that music starts playing, it's a feeling. It's like you can't even describe it. It just kind of overcomes you. And I miss that.
Just a couple of things. First of all, Rich, I think don't forget that before we got the middle trilogy of Star Wars, they re-released the originals. Yes, they updated the special effects, but I think that had a lot to do with getting kids back into the cinema and back into it. You know, you should have done the same with Indy. You know, why not put those original original movies back out, you know. But then the other thing is, I have a litmus test. So me and Ben have done a lot of shows with James about movies and Marvel movies and all that kind of stuff. And I've gotten to the point now where I acknowledge that I go in with a geek mindset. So I'm over hypercritical about stuff, particularly about the Marvel universe and things. So I always go in with my wife, my 2 kids, and quite often my parents as well. And they're kind of like my sounding board. So we'll come out and I'll ask them what they thought of the movie. And quite often they'll have a very different take to me. So Indy, I saw with my wife and my 2 kids, and they all enjoyed it. My son, Thomas, 15, said that was good. It wasn't amazing, but it wasn't a rubbish film. It was a good adventure. He probably felt a little bit like I felt watching Indiana Jones that first time. That kind of, this is a bit fun and all the rest of it. So I don't know. I think a lot of the time the nostalgia does play a bit of an impact in how I view a movie. I think there's been a lot of talk these last couple of weeks online. I saw a bit of it today and I was like, maybe not. Stepped away from it because there was a lot of really, really nasty stuff going out there. Yeah. But I think, yes, everyone's opinion is somewhat masked, whether it's with over fandom, where they're over hype and they go in and they just want to love it no matter what it is because the name above the door is a Star Wars or an Indy or whatever it is, or a Batman or all this kind of stuff like that. For me, how I experience films now, I go in with an open mind. Before I would watch, me and my brother talk about this all the time, but I would go in and I would have watched every single clip that had been released. I'd watch every single interview about it. I'd know everything about it, and I would just go, I'd just get like, I just want to go in and watch it, like this kind of thing. Now, I go in and I'm going, I hope I enjoy this and I'm ready to experience it. And literally, I just go in and I watched it. I watched The Flash a couple of weeks back with my missus, and I watched Indy on my own this last week. And the experience was still the same, apart from I said to my wife quite a few times in The Flash, what the hell is this? Because she thought the same thing. But I think because I think the love of the franchise, like I said, there is no matter, you could be deaf, dumb, and blind, and you would know the difference between the quality of the output in the Indiana Jones franchise and the latter installments. You could see a distinct difference, regardless of opinion, regardless of everything else. You could see the quality, the writing, the action, the stunts, special effects, all those kind of things. There is a distinct difference. And I think that's one of the things that we'll talk about. I think that's, for me, is just why I was so kind of like, deflated at the end of it. And I got quite sad at the end, was because this was a wasted opportunity. This could have been, and I kept saying it in my review, and I didn't mean to keep saying it, but I did anyway. It could have been a Maverick. It could have been a Rocky Balboa. It could have been a Logan. It could have been all those things where it's like an amazing ending to that character. It was well written. It was put together amazingly well with so much love and all this kind of stuff. Instead, with this, it just felt like another installment. Not a bookend, not a swan song of that character. And that's why for me, it's like Harrison Ford's 81 years old, right? He ain't getting any younger. This is his last time he's playing Indiana Jones. Yeah. And that's like, really, this is the last one? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. After the box office, it's going to be the last one, definitely, as well. You said something interesting there, Richard, about how you used to like to absorb everything before you go in to see the film. I'm trying very hard not to do that now.
Yes.
So I'm finding that that's spoiling my enjoyment. So, for example, in Indy, there's should be a funny scene where he does the reverse from the previous movies, where he gets his whip out, excuse me, and they all pull the guns, and it's like they call back to the old movie. Yeah, I'd seen that 3 or 4 times on the trailer already, so it lost any kind of impact at all. Sat on the screen, it was just, and it
still made me giggle like a little girl.
Yeah. Did you do a little chuckle?
Do it again. I honestly think the worst enemy for the Indy franchise is having too much budget, having too much CGI possibilities, having too much, like Indy benefited from its restrictions back in the day.
Absolutely.
And now you're there, you're at Disney. Disney are giving you millions and millions of pounds telling you, do what you want. You can do some crazy stuff with CG. Do this, do that. Like, and it's like in those original films, there's really not that much going on it's quite simple what is actually happening in the set pieces and everything. So I think it's I definitely agree with you. I think the difference between the original three is absolutely stark, and I do agree with you in what you were saying about this not feeling like a swan song, this feeling like an installment. But I do, and I know we'll get into it and stuff, but I kind of enjoyed it as an installment. So
No, and the thing is, like with anything, everyone is entitled to their opinion, and that's more than fine. We're not going to lose any friends here from it. Someone just said, Shiny said, Indy 5 needed CGI babies. They're from The Flash. If you guys have not seen that, the worst scene of all time. And Crystal Skull's a cool story, and then this is nail on the head for me. Anyway, for me, too much CGI in movies. Live action always helps storytelling. 100%. 100%. I think if you create a scene, and like I saw a lot of the behind the scenes stuff, they shot a lot of this practically, and then obviously they put some CGI in it. But I even think some of the scenes that were shot practically looked very CGI'd, looked very. There was no real feeling to it. I didn't feel like any of it was real at all through this whole film.
So I was saying to that, I can't remember if it was to Ben, or I was saying to some of the guys, my cinema audibly laughed at one point because of the CGI at the start. Really? At the start, you know where he's got the chase scene, and he first gets onto the top of the train.
Oh yeah. Bandy. It was all Bandy running.
How can we not get a stuntman to do that when we've got Tom Cruise jumping out of bloody airplanes and bouncing down mountains? But we can't get a stuntman to run across the top of the train.
I know. That was one of the first bits for me as well. I was like, really, this is what we've got. There was all this hype behind. He's doing a lot of this stuff himself. He's got the balls on his face for him to go and do the deep fake and stuff. I know, right? But he did a lot of this stuff, and some wife just came in. Thank you very much. And but yeah, he did a lot of this stuff, but he did a lot of that stuff at the beginning of the film in 1944. That was him, apart from obviously running across top of the train. That scene looked ridiculous. Even the part of when his face is very close to the rock as well, when he was on the motorbike, that just looked so off as well. I
genuinely believe, right?
Go on.
That we are living in the dark times of CGI. Like we have entered a dark period in cinema history for CGI, and it's weird, right? Because CGI is old. It's been prevalent in films since I don't know when was The Abyss with James Cameron did the water thing and stuff.
Yeah, Lawnmower Man, Abyss, and early 90s.
Early 90s, right? So it's but somehow we kind of reached a glass ceiling with it. And you saying about James Cameron again, you have the likes of Avatar, which like for me is some of the most breathtaking CGI that I've ever witnessed. Like my mind cannot comprehend that what I'm seeing is not real, which is what you want. That's the ultimate goal of CGI, right? And yet at the same bloody time, we have Flash, we have Indiana Jones, we have She-Hulk, we have
She-Hulk,
It's awful. But again, even She-Hulk, even in She-Hulk, there was a disparity, right? So some of the scenes, she looked phenomenal. Like that first episode where she's
with the hair down was amazing.
Yeah,
the hair looked atrocious.
I was just like, oh my god, like this is like a dream come true. And then just other shots of her
office scenes
through the bloody office.
It was the office scenes that were horrific, weren't they?
Yeah. So it's such a weird period, and I'm at the point where I'm just like I'd just rather than not do whatever they were planning to do. Just strip back the ideas a little bit and let's just get back. If that train scene, I don't know, because I really loved that opening. I really did, and I was
me too.
Like on paper, that opening sequence, if you put that in any of the Indy films, it would slot straight in and be a fantastic set piece. And if you had a real young Indiana Jones and didn't have all the horrible de-aging kind of thing, but again, inconsistent. Like some shots looked superb, and then he would slightly turn his face or say something, and it immediately looked horrendous again. And it was so jarring. It was like a roller coaster in itself.
Going back to She-Hulk, because I think you're right, Ben. I think we're in a age where CGI is just the answer to everything, and people instead of doing a practical effect, will just chuck some money at CGI, and it doesn't matter if it looks crap. Looking at She-Hulk, I would have been so much happier if they just painted a big bodybuilder and we had a bit like the old, the Louis Fruit. Give us that. You could have had the same.
That's hard with Jennifer's character though, because the point of Jennifer is that she's not savage when she's She-Hulk. It's the same character. So it would be quite hard to find an actress. Like the thing is, like Tatiana Maslany was just so good in that role that I wouldn't not want her as the Hulk sort of thing. Because I know wrestlers, I could name you 5 female wrestlers now that I know would, if you paint them up green, they would look phenomenal, but they wouldn't be able to be Jennifer out of She-Hulk.
You didn't look too bad, Ben, when you painted yourself.
So welcome to She-Hulk.
Welcome to She-Hulk talk,
ladies and gentlemen.
Thanks for that massive tangent. But no, you are right. It's like CGI should enhance the story, not replace the story. And I think the spectacle there is for this. This film cost $300 million. That did not look like $300 million to me. I don't know about you guys. That's not
crazy.
Deadpool cost $50 million. Yeah, that's just to tell you the level of CGI.
Colossus in Deadpool.
Colossus, I know.
Looked
good.
Looked
unbelievable. Yeah. And so I think it's just a question of sometimes spiraling budget, them just throwing money at it, like you said, Ben. I do think a lot of the CGI / special effects houses are stretched. I think they are massively. They are under. A lot of them are underselling their services, and then then Disney or Marvel or whomever it is going to them. We need this by tomorrow, and we need this because we've got this in place. Just put whatever in, and that's the case a lot of the time. With the first scene in 1944. That was amazing. Like you said yourself, the way it was written, the way it was done, the way it was shot, apart from some of the CGI, because they said it was inconsistent because there were some elements to it which were ideal and looked just like him. And I felt like it was a really good representation of a younger Indy. And the story, it was a great start for me. But then obviously it changed quite a bit. So it is quite interesting. But this film, like I said, $300 million budget, spiraled. It's a production that started, they announced it back in 2015. Steven Spielberg was going to direct it. He dropped out, changed writers on many number of occasions, dropped out and then came back. A guy called David Coeb, who wrote quite a few of the like Dark Knight and Man of Steel and stuff like that as well. And then he dropped out and he came back again. And then Jonathan Kasdan helped as well at one point. And then he dropped out. So there's a number of these things happened. And then apparently the story goes, I listened to James Mangold, the director of Copland, 310 to Yuma, Logan, Ford v Ferrari, some absolute banging films, who directed this film, said he was approached when Steven Spielberg was dropping out because he was going to do West Side Story and they couldn't really decide fully what they were going to do with the story. They approached him and said, in 24 weeks, we want you to start production on Indy 5. And he went, it's not going to happen. I can't do that because this script that you've given me is not right. And he said, give me a year. So they went away, obviously spoke to loads of other directors and then came back to him and went, okay, we'll give you that extra time. And then he went away and by the look of it, spoke to 5 different writers because there's a massive inconsistency with the tone and stuff like that, in my opinion. But so then obviously then the COVID hit, and it was shot during 2021 where there was a lot of obviously restrictions and stuff like that. So they were already at the back foot with a lot of it. And this is the first obviously indie film where George Lucas has not been fully involved. And Steven Spielberg, the people who created this character and made this character who he is, apart from obviously Harrison Ford. So I just thought it was quite interesting to kind of like talk about that. There were some rumors, which we'll talk about in a bit, about the third act and how there were changes, and there were rumors and stuff like that circulating out there, what was going to be the case and what actually ended up being the case as well. So there's some interesting stuff there. But before we go into the next section, very quickly, people are talking between themselves, which is really nice. Shiny said, should have used CGI to make Harrison look older. Have an Indiana Jones spooky skeleton movie. It's always with the puns in it. It's good work. It's the best and worst de-aging I've ever seen. Literally changed between shots. Yes, it did.
Yeah.
CGI looked awesome, but the Hobbit looked a bit. It's very true. Me and the wife started watching Lord of the Rings again, and made the mistake.
That final battle in that third film is still incredible to look at.
It really is. It really is. Yeah, it is amazing. But yeah, some of the Hobbit stuff, my God, that was rough. Big Dave.
Hi, Dave.
Hey, buddy. Crystal Skull Civil War 2. That's what I wanted to see. Yeah, it would be nice. To break even for this film, because obviously the amount of money that they spend on marketing and everything, they have to hit 750 million. There's no way they're going to make that. They've already made 60 million domestic on the first weekend. It's 130 something internationally so far, but it's going to do 350 million, and that's it. It's going to lose 400 million.
Makes me sad.
Me too, man. Me too. It makes me sad because of how much Harrison Ford cares about this character. I personally think he signed on to do Force Awakens because I think they promised him Indy as part of the negotiation. That's my opinion, but I think it's a good little theory, to be honest with you, because he cares so much about Indy. It's one of his favorite characters to play. So I'm sad for him because it means so much to him. So both, have gone so bad. Well, you're not wrong there, Big Dave. I'd say not terrible a lot of ways, but Mando was atrocious. Well, very much so, James. We were saying that earlier about the fact they didn't keep it alive. They didn't release it earlier on Disney Plus. They released it like last month before, so people couldn't really get a chance to watch it properly or fully experience it, or re-releasing it would have been a better idea. That's a great shout, that Pete. But let us talk about Indy 5. Let's put a little bit of a little clip in between just to go and see what the good old days were like.
Indiana Jones movies would not exist in people's hearts and imaginations without Harrison Ford.
Nobody can play Indiana Jones but him.
What do you think you're doing? Get down!
Dad, we're well out of range.
We talk about what is quintessentially Indy. It's a combination of feeling like it's grounded in something historical, but then the adventures sit right on the edge of the supernatural.
And I'm delighted that there still is an interest in the character and the kinds of stories that we tell.
How nice is
that? Made me emotional.
Lovely, wasn't it? Thank you very much. Yeah, it's
Sorry, I was just thinking there, Rich. You're saying, or James saying that they've not done anything to keep the IP alive, which is absolutely right. But what I would say is, in Florida, they've still got the Indiana Jones stunt show going in one of the theme parks.
Back in the day.
And I've seen it 4 times now, and every time you go, it's jam packed, and the crowd are absolutely on the feet. So there's something endearing and something long term about this character that, even though he's not been around for perhaps in the movies and stuff for a little while, people still know and recognize the IP and are drawn to see it straight away,
Oh yeah, I mean this franchise is the character of Indy is iconic. He's one of the most iconic characters of cinema. The issue has been, I think, keeping it relevant and keeping him in the zeitgeist a bit more, even if it's just, like you said, re-releasing the films at the cinema or... Go on, you're going to say... Ben.
6-part Clone Wars animation style, directed by Dave Filoni, Indiana Jones series.
Well, I saw a clip of something which I was going to try and track down for this, where there was a fan-made animation, and it was amazing. It was just kind of like going all the way through the trilogy, and it was just like a 5-10 minute thing, and it was just so well done, and the animation style was amazing. I don't agree with that at all, Ben, but I think Dave Filoni's got his hands full with a lot of things, and he gets a lot wrong.
Watch this space.
Yeah, well, I think he's got his hands full at the minute.
Give us a young Indy type TV show. They did
a problem as well. They did the Young Indy Chronicles, didn't they?
Yeah. You know, I mean, they've just tried it with National Treasure, and it was an absolute dumpfire. But if you could get the right person behind it, there's nothing out there about that kind of adventure exploration on TV. Or do you know what I mean?
No, they tried with Uncharted. They tried with a lot of stuff, and they obviously as well with Disney as well, Lucasfilm, Willow. They tried doing that recently. That show, that by all accounts, has just gotten removed from Disney Plus because it's just not that good and didn't really take off and stuff like that. So there is that risk. But I think putting 300 million into a subpar action film that was, the set pieces weren't even that interesting, minus the 1944 bit, for me personally, I think is the wrong move. I think whoever wrote this, by all accounts, 5 different people. I think it should have just been a single.
Yeah, I enjoyed the end.
The end didn't get you the moment that they did what they did, and like obviously spoiler warning.
Sure. Right, okay, we're going to talk spoilers now. Okay, anyone who has not seen Dial of Destiny, come back. Watch the film, come back. He'll be out on stream in a couple of weeks, no doubt. So just come back and you can watch this. But right, okay, we'll go start at the end and work our way back if you want them, Ben.
Okay,
go ahead. Tell me.
That's unconventional, but I like it.
Yeah, might as well.
It's very on theme for the Dial of Destiny, isn't it? You know, we're going to paradox this shit. Yeah. I just absolutely adored the time travel element of this, and I think it took a long... No, actually, I don't think it took a long time. I think it came at the perfect time for an indie film. Like all of the, the supernatural moments, the moment that there's something fantastical happening, it's always right at the end of an indie film, and I think this kind of very much kept in line with that. But the idea that they didn't kind of have a time machine. They just had essentially a compass that would tell them where this kind of and it didn't, it wasn't like some big blue glowing orb thing. It was just a gap in the sky, a gap in the clouds, and that took them. I just that really set my imagination off and it was new, It's some like geeks. We've seen how many time travel films and different versions, and I've never seen that concept kind of realized before, so I really enjoyed that. And I just the ship that they had, that big kind of bomber sort of ship, kind of getting the the things propelled at it and stuff like that. I just loved visually all of that stuff, and honestly the emotion of seeing a man realize his fantasy, a man that has done that at the same time that he's essentially given up on life, and just kind of that conflict and that moment, I just found incredibly moving and really well done. So yeah, I loved that whole thing.
I have to say I enjoyed the time travel bit. I thought they missed a trick, mind. I thought again, just for my little noddy kind of brain, if they'd somehow linked it to the Bermuda Triangle, it would have made a little bit of sense and kind of that has been happening, kind of thing. But sorry to harp on, how were the special effects in that time travel bit so bloody good? Because it looked like the boats were invading to me. And yet they're so shit running on a train. Again, it's that whole jarring, But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really cool that bit.
Shiny's just said that bomber kind of shit that gets those things propelled and stuff like that. Damn, don't spoil all of it.
I'm a wordsmith. They've approached me for a written review.
That's amazing. That is amazing. Well done, Shiny. Thank you for that.
I don't fucking know the names of the planes. Like it's a bomber thing, isn't it? And right, and the ships.
It's like Armstrong and Miller. Have you seen the two pilots? Bombers and shit and all this and
shit. Yeah. Right. I think personally that ending was the moment that they went through, and it was the siege that they've been talking about, they've been hinting about all the way through the film. I was like, really? This is the end. This is the end of Indiana Jones, where he just chooses, because he got shot, to just stay there. Harrison Ford is an unbelievable actor. He's an Oscar-nominated actor. Sorry, never winning. He had been so amazing in some of these throughout this film. The moment on the boat, which I'll talk about in a bit, that was just absolutely stunning. The bit, even when they're at the siege, I can't pronounce it right, so I'm not going to say it. So they were there, and he obviously made that decision because he's got nothing else to live for. I just think he didn't feel like Indiana Jones. He did not fully. You kind of thought he was a bit depressed, obviously, naturally so, because everything was happening to him at the time. But you were hoping that sense of adventure and love of the adventure and everything that was happening would have brought him back a bit more as Indiana Jones. I think this film did not show Indy being Indy. And Indy is someone who loves doing this, loves being part of history, and loves finding these things. I think meeting Archimedes... okay, like that. I didn't know who Archimedes was, and I did history at college. So, like, I didn't genuinely didn't. No, not well enough. That's why I only did it A level. But like, do you know what I mean? It's kind of like that was a bit Doctor Who-ish for me. Do you know what I mean? Like, I love Doctor Who. Don't get me wrong. I absolutely love Doctor Who, but I think that him meeting someone from the past was a nice thing, but that's not an ending of a film. That's not an end of a saga. Him deciding to be left for dead on the beach while the Romans invade, that's not Indy. The fact that a lot of people obviously divided very much on a lot of the things I saw today was obviously him being punched by Helena, which I don't care about. I have no problem with that, him getting punched, because obviously she really wanted him to.
Hilarious, brilliant.
Yeah, that was fine.
Really,
but it was
subverts
just
expectations in that moment as well. Like you don't see it coming, and that's quintessential Indy humor. Is that like stuff that happens, or sudden violence, in a moment that you're not expecting it. Like,
but that I just the decisions that they made for this film was just so off, in my opinion. I'm just so disappointed by what they did. A lot of the actors in it, and I will talk about that as well, if that's all right with you guys, just really quickly. And I don't mean in any way to kind of say anything about their acting ability or anything like that, but I think some of the choices that were made, for example, Helena, so Phoebe Waller-Bridge, obviously she's Fleabag and everything else like this, but her character was not likable in any way, shape, or form. She left Indy for dead 3 times. She left him for dead.
Because she's a dick, like Indy has been a dick for a long, long time, and that is the appeal of Indy, right? Is that he's the lovable dick, and
he's a lovable dickhead, but she's not a lovable dick. She's an unlikable person as a character. She left him for dead and left an old man who was supposed to be 70 in this film for dead 3 times.
So I've not seen Fleabag.
Neither have I.
It's a masterpiece.
I just found her irritating all the way through. I didn't enjoy her character at all. You're right. She left him for dead. That didn't necessarily register too much, other than I just didn't particularly like her. Do you know what I mean? There was something about her I just didn't. Yeah. I would have been gutted if at the end they'd handed the hat to her, I have to say. Because I thought this was going to be a handover movie, you know? But,
I honestly, I thought she was cunning, witty, like incredibly flawed, which is part of Indy's DNA. Is his flawedness as a character. She was had this sort of flirtatious element. She was strong, both kind of physically and mentally. And I think as much as it's a journey for Indy, this film, you kind of see her character go through a journey as well. And her character essentially kind of grow up a little bit during the film as well. I think that is the point, is that she's she is not supposed to necessarily be lovable and likable and endearing throughout the film, because that's what she's creating for herself. And she, by the end of it, kind of gets to a place of understanding with herself and kind of delayed grief, I guess, with her dad, and realization of what kind of a legacy he would want from her. And
I
Phoebe.
think well,
Helena, Team Helena.
Team Helena all day for you.
Give her the fucking hat.
Again, no. My God. But the thing is that she was berating him on a number of occasions. How is she supposed to be likable when she's berating a man who lost his son, spoiler alert, and got recently separated from his wife, where she's berating him while he's driving and going, well, family was never really your strong suit, was it? And all this kind of stuff. It's like, it felt like there was a number of different films that they just pieced together. And that's where some of it, where for me, I was like, this is such a wasted opportunity. It could have had someone who was, a bit roguish, strong mentally and everything. That's absolutely got no problem with that. A lot of people on the internet do, which is ridiculous. If it's a woman or whomever it is, they do have problems with that because it's not the lead who is in charge a lot of it. But for me, it was the way that she acted as and she just wasn't likable in the slightest, and I couldn't get behind her. Ben's adjusting his Indy.
Ian,
are you all right?
Ian, please for yourself. Ian put a comment and was like, "Bring him closer." It's all gone wrong.
Ankles will collapse.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare figure, that one, Ian.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think going back to what Ben was saying there is, if the purpose of the way they wrote this character was for her to be unlikable, they absolutely achieved that goal for me. Because and I didn't get the redeem arc at the end. I left the movie thinking didn't like her.
Same. Yeah. And as well, again, I don't mean to say anything bad about someone's acting ability, but this person was not a very good actor at all. He didn't have the likability, the acting prowess, again, it felt like he was just, okay, we need a little kid who's going to be a sidekick, who's going to be a pickpocketer, and apparently a pilot who can fly into an abyss and then pick them all up and fly them back out again. And just like those little contrivances for me were just like, oh, come on, man. This could have been so much more than what it was. Short round light. Yeah, I agree with that. Obviously, that would have been amazing if they'd have had him in. But yeah, so there were a number of things for me where and we haven't talked about Mads Mikkelsen yet. I thought he was amazing. I always love Mads Mikkelsen. I'm watching him at the moment in a film called Another Round. If you guys have not seen that, I recommend it.
Yeah, heard of that.
Recommend it. A bit of a slow start, but it's really, really good. It's a really good. It won Oscar for Best International Film, Foreign Language Film, a few years back. So it's definitely worth checking out. But yeah, I thought he was great. I was hoping it would have been a bit more to do with the space race, which is what I think they were originally going to start to do with the story when they first started developing it in the 60s, where it was going to be, obviously they engaged a lot of former Nazis with Operation Paperclip in real life. This happened in real life to obviously help them build these rockets to get them to the moon on the moon race and stuff. But in this film, they could have done a bit more with that, I think, beforehand. Like, that could have been something that they were all trying to go to and the Nazis were going to take over or something. I don't know, but that would have been quite interesting. I thought his character was really good. I thought he never really misses, to be fair. What do you think to the bad guy?
Brilliant. I mean, like you say, Mads is superb and everything. Someone's mentioned Hannibal in the comments. That Hannibal is a phenomenal TV series. He's amazing.
I watched the first season of that.
It's brilliant.
Really
it's brilliant.
Yeah.
I did find his storyline a little confusing. I have to admit. I wasn't quite sure why he was going back to kill Hitler at first, but then I had a chat with Ben, I think, and it made sense that he was going back to replace Hitler, kind of thing.
Yeah, it was.
That
he literally said it.
I don't remember him. I don't remember him really saying that. Maybe I was just falling asleep by that point then.
Yeah.
But yeah, but I thought in terms of his performance, he was absolutely superb.
Yeah, he was. Yes, he literally did say it, because he was like, Hitler made the wrong kind of calculations, and he said, I wouldn't make those mistakes and all that kind of stuff. But obviously, Harrison Ford, he never misses, as far as I'm concerned. He was amazing throughout all of this. When I spoke to my brother, because he saw it before I did, and he said to me, he said, there's before the boat and there's after the boat. He said, all up to that point, he quite enjoyed it. And then after that point, then it just went a different direction and felt like a different film. I concur a lot of that. But to be honest with you, it was the moment, 1944, and then the rest of it was just a bit of a letdown for me, which is a real shame. I did think, quick shout out to Puss in Boots.
You cannot hear his voice now and not like. I was just like, it's just Puss in Boots is on the fucking boat. Like, when I couldn't. It's so distracting.
It's so distracting. He was just like he's leaned in massively into the Puss in Boots voice. Definitely, it was a lot more. He was less Desperado, more Puss in Boots for that one. I think
he was a great little supporting character. Like, if we were talking earlier about animated series or whatever, like I'd love to, if you were to go back and like maybe tell an adventure of in a young Indy and a young version of him, that'd be a lot of fun, I think.
Was he in a relationship with the guy with the skirt? I couldn't quite place it. Was there something there? There was a guy on the boat, which there was somebody that we looked over to, and I think it was like his friend or his partner. But I thought that wasn't, because they were together, and it was like you could tell that they were together, I guess, or like really close. But you felt that because he was only on a small amount.
If they did that, it would be typical Disney, like saying, "Oh, look how inclusive we are," or whatever. Because this background character is gay. Yeah. We haven't said it. We haven't told you that. We haven't said that out loud because, God forbid.
I never picked up on it, Rich. I never picked up on it.
That's the point, right? If they'd said it, great, fantastic, absolutely brilliant, step in the right direction. But I don't know. I hope so, and I hope they
Puss in Boots and Harrison in hat. There you go. Didn't need to die. He didn't need to die, really, did he? But I like the bit where she's acting like an idiot, and he just went, "My friend just died." I thought that was good. It's like perspective.
But again, that's the point, right? So he because you're all like angry that she was doing that, and he literally addressed it like within character. Like,
well, he agreed with me, right? Rich. He literally looked at the camera and said, "Rich Pete, she's a bitch." But you know what I mean? That's what he did.
That's what I'm saying. It was intentional, like.
And I'm agreeing with you. If it was intentional, they achieved it. You know?
Yeah. She wasn't likable at all. And then I hated the whole kind of like it was an end of a sitcom where I appreciate the Karen bit. That was amazing. The Karen bit. Sorry. The Karen Allen, sorry, that's the actress. I was
going to say someone complaining in a.
yeah. Sorry, but at the end where they all just turned up, and then he's like, "Oh, we did this and all that." I was just a bit like, it felt like a sitcom at the end.
No, that was such a tender, beautiful, kind of poetic ending.
Well, apparently that was a reshoot. That was a reshoot that they did fairly recently. It was tested last year where there was a bit more to the Archimedes and possibly her taking on some kind of mantle, and it tested very badly. This is all rumor and conjecture. We won't really fully know until it gets leaked. But then they tested it, and then they said, okay, we really need to give this more of a nicer ending. And so that's where they put that in. So I thought it was a lovely moment because those two together. She looked great, by the way. I thought she looked really good for her age. I thought she was really good. And I thought that was a lovely moment with those two together, with her saying, is he back? Because it was the point where he wasn't there anymore. He wasn't connected to grieving.
Because earlier in the film, he says
amazing.
how he couldn't support her. It was her who was struggling. But what that him. Revealed in that scene is that it was him the whole time.
Yeah, it was him.
You know, and we got a complete symbol of that in essentially him saying he wanted to commit suicide by staying in the past, because that's what it would have been, right? And
of course.
So it's like literally a man stood there saying that he wanted to commit suicide, surrounded by the, things that he loves, history, and like I just found that whole last bit of the film really personally. Yeah, no, it's
that turn that we've just said there about the fact that it wasn't him, that he couldn't be there for his wife. It was he wasn't fully there grieving with her for her, and that's why they broke up and stuff. And I thought that was a really lovely character moment. I think there could have been more of that. I think the fact that he mentioned what happened to Mutt, and obviously Shia LaBeouf, when he was never going to be in the film anyway, let's be fair. But like, I think that relationship and what he said there, because obviously it kind of very similar to how he was with his dad. So there were like loads of lovely moments like that. And I think that there were glimmers, for me personally, there were glimmers of genius and glimmers of amazing moments and tender moments like at the end with Marion and stuff. But I think it's just, for me personally, it was a bit of a waste in my personal opinion. But I kind of felt deflated a lot of it, because I was just like, shit, I was so lucky. I don't watch sport. I don't watch many things that I'm like so enthralled by and so, but the love of film and pop culture and stuff like this and shows and things like that mean a world to me. But film means more to me than anything else. And having things like this, like the Indy franchise, or say obviously Keaton back in the Flash and stuff like that, it meant more to me. And I just generally thought it was like, oh, this is just something that I was getting my hopes up for. That was just another letdown. And I think it was just, like I said before, the best way I can put it was just a wasted opportunity. And what they could have done with the James Mangold, Mads Mikkelsen as a bad guy, you got Harrison Ford back, you got Marion back, you could have all these different things, and you could have set it, and it would have been a lot better than what it was. But it was a waste opportunity, but it is what it is. I mean, I saw somebody pitch an idea earlier. It was like on your YouTube channel where he was saying about getting short round in, and there'd be like Mutt was replaced by someone else as an actor, and them going to Atlantis instead, and all that. That sounded like a really fun film. And this it didn't feel fun to me. I think a lot of the set pieces, a lot of the action wasn't really action. It was just them being chased and going to another place and then being chased again, and then another place and then being chased again. And it's just like outrunning a tube train as well on a horse. Wasn't feeling that either. Do you know what I mean? And I was just like stuff like that. Like,
like on, you know on paper, that's actually really fucking cool, right? Yeah. If you did that,
it's cool
practically.
If
you worked out, if you did it all in camera and stuff, and like I think that's the biggest takeaway for me. Like if I were to read this as a book, I think it's a bloody brilliant Indiana Jones installment. But sadly it just didn't translate, or maybe over translated, because of everything that we have available these days, when put on camera. So
well, I mean, like, for example, last year, massive surprise to me, Maverick. I always knew that Tom Cruise was going to bring it and that film was going to do well. I didn't think it'd be as amazing as it was. Did you see that, Ben? I know you don't like Tom Cruise, but have you actually seen the film?
No, I've never seen either.
To be fair, you don't need to see the first. You can just watch Maverick. I genuinely, I would love to hear your to respond to
do
watching
it, Rich. I just don't think I can do it. I just don't.
This
think
could be
I can
this could be
bring
another thing.
myself
It
to
could be a
giving
little
that man my
experiment we're
time.
doing this.
The new YouTube show, that isn't it? Force Ben to watch a movie.
Force Ben to watch Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise, like
yeah,
Clockwork
like
Orange.
Clockwork Orange. But that surprised me. Obviously, I know you haven't seen it,
Phenomenal.
but that film surprised me how amazing it was. The fact that it introduced new characters, it had legacy characters there, and it wasn't for the sake. It wasn't nostalgia bait. It wasn't, oh, look, bring this person in and look what they're doing now, and them saying all the same lines to each other again and all that kind of stuff. There was heart, there was passion behind it, and majority of that film was shot practically. And that's the thing as well. You believe it. That bit in the trailer where he's literally in the cockpit and he's being launched off a carrier, you see him in the cockpit and there's no CGI. And that is what this could have been. With that budget, they could have done that 100% with Indy. They could have done that. Like you said, if you read it in a book or in a comic, that would have been amazing because you'd have gone, okay, wow, that would have been so amazing to see that in that form and done well. And I just don't think it was done right for this one. I know I probably talked too much about this one. What do you guys think to what I just said there?
I mean, I disagree with everything.
You can.
Really.
You can disagree all you want.
You know, I'm gutted to hear another fan be so disappointed. To be honest, because I see it. I see your opinion, and I kind of I can see how you can kind of interpret the film the way that you have, sort of thing. But like. To not come away with anything, like for me, I kind of, a lot of the things you're upset with, kind of bugged me a little bit and stuff, but like I still kind of managed to come away and just draw out, I love that opening, I love that last bit, I liked that. I honestly think it's Harrison Ford's best performance as Indiana Jones out in all of the films, because he hasn't had that much to do as a character. He's always kind of shrugged off emotions, I guess, in all of the films, and this was a lot more kind of complex. It was a complex version of Indy, and I really enjoyed that. So was it perfect? Absolutely not. No. I don't think it was great even. But I do think it was good. I think it was a good, and it was the core of Indiana Jones is that it's like old school adventure movies that we just do not get now, and we're so flooded with superhero, and superhero films. It's what we love. It's part of our culture and stuff. But you kind of the fatigue is starting to kick in a little bit, right? Whether we like to admit it or not, it's starting to creep in. And I was sat there and I was just like watching, two blokes punch each other on the top of a train, watching some cars, ride around Tangier or whatever, a little buggy ride around Tangier, watching someone say, oh, this rock, if you move that rock to the right, it's going to, move the water or whatever. And then it moved the water, like such simple old school like adventure at its core, and what that does is it gives you escapism in its purest form, and that is Indiana Jones for me. So I think I still kind of came away having had a good time and escape from the world, for 2 hours. And they definitely needed to shave off 15 minutes, like 100%.
Definitely. But that was really well put. I'm glad you had a wonderful time with it. I know it wasn't
going to troll me in a minute. He's going to type verbatim what I said.
But what you said there, it's amazing that you took that from there and that you took it from that experience. I think for me going in, I think I just wanted more than what we got. And I think that probably is on me as well. But I think I saw what I saw and what experienced.
I think you wanted a completely different story, to be honest, Rich.
I think I did.
You wanted an indie that was still in his prime, still wanting to do what he was doing, and what we got here, like it's the Luke Skywalker thing, right? Luke Skywalker, we got a washed up, a washed up Luke who has essentially quit his faith, and it was the story of that and about him reclaiming his faith. And this Indiana Jones story was about him having quit life really, and just kind of given up on everything, and kind of reclaim that reason to stick around. And like that's a very different story to Maverick, for example. Which,
well, yeah, I mean, yeah, it is. You're right.
You know,
but he is very similar to Maverick in the respect that Maverick is a relic, is the old times, and things are moving forward in the modern days and new technologies and all this kind of stuff like that. And for Indy, he is the old relic. He is still the old school traditional type of person. However, there was no real change in his character. He was still at the end of it, the beginning of it, and the end of it. Apart from the bit where he sees Marion, he is exactly the same. His arc did not change.
Oh, it took the whole film. Yeah, it changed right at the end.
Yeah, it changed right there when she was in the kitchen with him. It was kind of like, so he didn't embrace who he was. He'd given up on life, like you said. He was just kind of a bit of a passenger, like very much kind of was in a lot of respects. And I think he just didn't fully just click out of it a little bit to kind of do what he needed to do. He was just kind of autopilot a lot of it, and I think that was just a failing of the writing and the set pieces and certain things like that. So for me personally, that's how I feel about it. I didn't want to go in and on reflecting, I was like, initially I was like, I wanted it to be a Rockefeller Balboa-esque. I want it to be like he's going to more and all this kind of stuff like this, and then he's just going to snap out of it and then kind of crack on for the last hour. But I didn't want him to do a flip. I didn't want him to pull out a green lightsaber, and I didn't want him to start doing anything like that. I know people wanted to know that with Luke, but for me it was just kind of, I think they missed the trick of who Indy is. With regards to his age and stuff, I think if you watch 1923, it's just something I would recommend everyone watch out there who have not seen it yet. But Harrison Ford, he has some badass moments, and he has some intensity and he's threatening in some respects as well, and he feels like he's cornered in some bits, but then he just basically lashes out where he needs to. And I think they got that ferocity right in 1923, and I don't think they got it right with Indy. But you've got a fan out there. Agent Silver Fox says, I'm definitely Ben's wavelength for this movie. It had its flaws, but he was entertained. So that was nice. Pete, to wrap us up, my friend, what was your thoughts on this? You seemed a bit deflated by it like me.
It was all right.
It's all right.
I went into it wanting probably more than was possible. It was good at points. There were bits I really did enjoy. I liked the ending. I thought the ending was very cool. I liked the start. There were points where, quite frankly, I was bored. I didn't think, personally, the adventure stroke action flowed very well. It was literally kind of, we'll chase this person for a bit, then we'll chase that person for a bit. I like the puzzle elements, but I didn't really feel it that much. I don't know. I felt flat, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Even down to one of the big things for me, because I'm old, is when those theme tunes that we all know kick in. So you used Maverick as an example. Literally, the start of that movie, the music starts, and I was there. It was pumping. You know, Mission Impossible. You get the music kick in when there's an action piece, and I'm there on the edge of my seat. Even with the familiar Indiana Jones theme used a few times in this movie, when it started, I got nothing. I got no. It just felt flat. Do you know what I mean? Like I say, my family enjoyed it, so I do kind of err on the am I just being a grumpy old fart. I will see it again, because quite often I like to see films twice, and I'll quite often find that my opinion changes a little bit on the second viewing.
Yeah.
But it wasn't great for me. It wasn't a disaster for me. It was an okay movie. If I was to, I don't know, are you going to get able to score it or not?
Yeah. Out of 5, go on.
Out of 5, I'd give it a 3 out of 5 for me. It's mediocre. Yeah. Like I say, probably like you, Rich. Just
I was just like that the whole time. I was just like literally just nothing. Felt nothing really.
And like I say, when that music kicks in, that should be the edge of your seat. Oh, it just. You know? Which really disappoints us, because I wanted to love it. I really wanted to love it.
I really wanted to love this film. I really wanted to love it. It was, like I said, my most anticipated film of the year. 2 out of the 3 have let me down so far this year. So I'm like, Jesus. By the way, I have not seen, before I get crucified out there. Across the Spider-Verse. It's out on digital in a couple of weeks, so I'm gonna buy it on 4K and watch it properly and stuff. Which, well, by all accounts, it is amazing. So
best movie ever made.
Is it really? Is it really?
I mean, genuinely, like I mean, I said this about the first one, but I think it'll maybe be one of my favorite films.
Well, you know what? There's, not to talk too much away from Indy, but when I went to the cinema time before last, the trailer for it with Miles's mum doing that speech about his little one and stuff, about her being, and honestly, I teared up. So I was like, because I'm a dad, and I was like, Jesus Christ. So I think it's going to get me, but I am looking forward to seeing that. But yeah, we have Mission Impossible in 2 weeks' time, so I'm very, very hopeful. I'm seeing it in IMAX, so I can't wait for that one. Ben, what were your overall score of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny?
I hate scoring out of 5 because I feel like that's such a
out of 10 then.
I mean, out of 10, I'd probably, I'd come in at like a 6.5.
Jesus Christ! I hate all this 6.5, 8.5 head sculpt.
That's much lower than I expected.
Let's do it out of 100. Yeah. I would come in at let's do the percentage out of 100. No, or maybe like I don't know. I guess out of 5, maybe 3.5. I think because I think a lot better films I do give a 4. So I don't think it's there, but I think a 3.5 still a good film. Like for me, Flash, for example, would if I was doing out of 5 for Flash, it'd be like a 2.
Yeah. Well, mine was 2.5 on that one because it was just, another waste opportunity as well. But for me, I think like just very much in the middle, like a 2.5, a 3 possibly, but mainly 2.5 really for me for this Indy. A shame. James T said 7 out of 10 then, because you said 3.5, so double that. But anyway, on that note, I really appreciate everyone being here today. Obviously, I know I've had a bit of time off with the old film clubs, but it's great to be back. I very much enjoyed having you guys on as well. So, Ben, what have you got coming up on your channel?
I take a very ad hoc approach to content now,
which I think is the way forward.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I recently did a live stream where I went over my signature and photo op collection. So it's quite a long stream, but you can have a look at the timestamps, and if you specifically want to look at sort of Marvel celebrities or Star Wars or horror, you can have a look at that. It's a bit of a kind of collection tour with a difference. And then the other day I went live and went over 50 of my favorite cosplays that I've seen at Comic Cons, and I've taken pictures of at Comic Cons. So bit of a showcase for some other cosplayers there. And then I'm probably in the next couple of weeks going to go live and look at my own cosplays and give you 50 of the favorite kind of costumes that I've put together over the years.
50 is a bit.
I had to narrow it down. I've done about 200, I think. Costumes.
Well, obviously, I watched the interview with yourself and Pete, and that collage on there is just amazing. The amount of different looks you've got is amazing.
Yeah, it's worrying. The authorities were called, I think. But so that's kind of what I've got going on. And then if new figures come in, I tend to do like a little figure showcase reel. So I've got the Boss Man 2.0 coming in at some point, and
is that the Kingpin?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm really looking forward to that, and so.
Well, thank you very much for having us and coming on. It's been brilliant, and you're welcome anytime. You know that. It's Pete again. First time properly we've had a proper good stream together, so I really appreciate you coming in. What's you got coming up on your channel? You're the busiest man on YouTube.
Yeah. I mean, firstly, can I just say I've really enjoyed this, Rich? This has been really good. I love talking movies and things like that. So this has been good fun. So thank you for asking us.
Oh, absolute pleasure. Thank you.
I do a fair bit of YouTube stuff, it's fair to say. So on a weekly basis, I put 2 videos out, one 6-kilo unboxing a week and one comic unboxing a week, and they're stacked up until October, November time. So I've got a lot of that content. I've also do a lot of live shows. So what day we're now? Tuesday. So Thursday night, I've got this week's 1/6 scale news. Ben quite often jumps on that with us. So that's just a roundup of whatever news has been out this week. Just a short, quick video, normally about half an hour or so live show, I think it is. Friday, I've got this week's comics. So again, just a review of what comics myself and some colleagues have been reading this week. Saturdays, I always do my Saturday Night Live, which is geeky news, what we've been buying, what we've been picking up, and normally discussion topics. So last week we did CGI, which was fun.
Yeah.
And then Monday, I've got my Art Attack show. So we're challenging people to draw Star Wars characters. And then, of course, in a couple of weeks' time, we've got my newest show, This Is which is my interview show, and I've got yourself coming on. So really looking forward to that.
Yeah, me too. Really looking forward to that. It's going to be great. It's the 13th, isn't it? We're going to be on. So I need to send you that thumbnail. No, but thank you so much for coming on, and for both of you. You've both been awesome, and it's great to be back with such lovely company as well, and had a nice conversation as well. It's not just been kind of we're all singing from the same hymn sheet. Some kind of difference in opinion as well. I think it's really important. So for me, I have stepped away basically a lot from 1/6 scale, simply because I love it. It's something that I've always loved, but it's not something that really drives me as much as it used to. And I'll be putting a video out soon as to why that is and stuff like that. But just basically, I'm purely now focusing just on film, because that's where my true passion is. I know Inside Out.
That's why I quit videos do very well. Can I just say, by the way, like,
say again?
The YouTube algorithm loves a why I quit video. So
right,
make sure you make it a really depressing thumbnail with you like that, and like
an empty room,
throwing a 1/6 figure in the bin or something like that. Sorry.
Well, I won't. The thing is, rather than following what I think people want, I'm doing what I want to do, and if people like it, then they like it, and if they don't,
absolutely.
And I think that's really the lesson I've learned the last year or so of me doing this and doing the vlogs and doing these shows like this, and then my immediate reactions to films, rather than coming home, setting it up, having a bit of a script, getting some clips together, having a discussion, like just talking to a camera. I think that old way of me reviewing stuff didn't really excite me, and I think just that immediate kind of reaction, I think that suits me and suits my personality better as well. So I'm gonna be doing more stuff like that. I've got Mission Impossible, where I'm basically, when I'm doing these films, when it's big films, for example, I'll do like a vlog where I'm going on my way to go and see it, and maybe talk about some stuff on the way, and then my immediate reaction after that. And then I'm also releasing just that portion, which is just the review. So I did one for The Flash, a vlog and a review, and the same for Indy as well, which I thought, again, it's more stuff which I like to do and to make. So hopefully that more and more people start to enjoy that.
I have to say, Rich, because I've watched all of the ones you've done, I absolutely love them, because you get the unfiltered raw emotion that you get from coming straight out of a film. Do you know what I mean? Where you haven't had a chance perhaps to go back and you just get the actually, do you know what, that was shit, or actually that was amazing, that raw, you know? So I'm really enjoying them.
Oh, thank you, man. Thank you. It means a lot. And it's something that I've been talking about it quite a bit. And there were a time where I genuinely didn't know what I wanted to do anymore with YouTube, because me and Ben have had discussions like this in the past where we're kind of like, is this what we want to do anymore? But this is kind of reinvigorating.
I quit once a week, so don't worry.
I know you do. You're very up and down.
Sometimes twice, to be honest.
Before lunch. But like, so like for me, it's like that's what I'm doing going forward. So there is going to be more and more stuff like this, more movie news, more different things like that. So and obviously more film clubs as well. So if anyone has any suggestions as to what you'd like me to cover, or like us to cover as well, that would be great. Any suggestion is welcome. So quite a few people there were saying some really good stuff. Really good show. It's had a blast. That's nice, James. Thank you so much. Very excited for Oppenheimer. Yes, me too. Bobby Better.
I'm excited for that as well, to be fair.
I don't know how that's going to go. Love movies and movie chat. Great show. Thank you, Big Dave. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. But yeah, so we're going to ride off into the sunset now. Thank you to everybody who has watched today. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.
Oh, Ben's cantering.
Shut up.
Oh, the sun looks nice.
It was a bit banana.